The FA, meantime, say they're planning to issue live bans from future England games at Wembley for any England fan identified who broke into the Euros final and who didn't have a ticket. Now, the question I'd like to ask you this lunchtime, should that extend to clubs as well? If I'm a Manchester United fan or an Arsenal fan or a Tottenham fan who also supports England, who is there on that day, and it can be proved that I get in without a ticket, should I be faced now with a blanket ban? Sindai, should I be banned from football everywhere, not just following England, but following my club?
Yes. I mean, the answer is most probably that there needs to be a ban of some shape or description which covers the entire spectrum of football. The counter argument to that is, should it be a life ban? Because we do live in a redemptive society. We do live in a situation where, unless you're a recidivist, that ultimately you get an opportunity to redeem yourself. And there will be an element of some of these people, not the organisers and not the hardened ones, that are lemmings that have followed the opportunity and just gone running along because they're Herberts, right? And they don't know any better, and they're young kids, and they're going to find out later in life that this sort of behaviour isn't acceptable, and they might even get their collars felt this time around and have their backsides kicked up around their ears. And the reality of it is that should happen to them. But when you say to people about life bans, it takes away the notion that people can ever redeem themselves. Now, redeeming themselves in society is one thing because they make good on whatever they've done. Being allowed to go and watch a football match is another, because it's not a necessity. You don't have to watch a football match. It's a privilege to be able to watch a football match to some extent. It's a privilege that you pay for. It's not a gift. But when you do these sort of things, and I don't want to jump on the very bandwagon that I've been very outspoken about over the last week about sensationalism and ramping up the narrative.
Yes, you have.
But there does need to be a very significant consequence to the behaviour of these people that broke into this stadium, that caused the very nature. Okay, we can all say that the prevention is part and parcel of it, but if the behaviour wasn't there in the first place, you wouldn't need the prevention. So we can't just separate them and say, well, the police should have done better. We all know that. But if people didn't behave that way in the first place, there wouldn't need to be the policing requirements that clearly there was. But yes, I think that anybody that got involved to such a level that they broke inside the stadium and thought it was clever to be that way, irrespective of whether they got dragged along by the herd or they were actually a real instigator, needs to have a proper consequence, which is not just fans that might never go to England games again because they saw an opportunity for this one-off England game and couldn't care less if they go to another England game, but actually are fans of football clubs that they will be quite happy to rock up as if nothing's happened to their football ground when this new season starts. They should suffer that, because out of those 250,000 people that descended upon that 60,000 stadium, a lot of them may not be regular England fans, may just be little opportunist scroats that came out there to cause as much mayhem as they possibly could. Yeah. And they may want to go back and think, that's fun, I had a wonderful day, caused mayhem, and I couldn't care less because I'm a wretch, and I'll rock up to my next football game when I feel like it.
And do the same.
Or just not realise the ramifications of what they've created.
See, no doubt in my mind that a lot of them that day would be seasoned lawbreakers.
Yeah, a proportion of them.
And they would think, not for 1 second would they think, I'm about to do it, I'm going in without a ticket. Not for 1 second. They would pile in.
Yeah.
And as we heard, families of players who alighted upon their seats, could not take their seats because these hoodlums wouldn't move. Yeah. Now, Simon, surely there's an argument. If you fall into that category, you should never, ever be allowed to watch your beloved England or Manchester United or Arsenal or Everton or whoever the hell you support again.
But what you do, I mean,
life ban.
Some people are just some people just want to watch the world burn and couldn't care less about their behaviour and are just antisocial. And we saw some of that. Yeah. And we saw some of these people that are just reprehensible beyond all recognition. But, people's lives change. People become different people. People learn lessons. And if you ban somebody for a very significant period of time, and you take it away from them and you enforce it and make it a blanket ban across football, and you give them a criminal record as well as a result of it, that consequences in their normal life, and it takes them out of circulation in the football world. But after 10 years, who often is the same person? Some people are. Some people you just can't reach. That's a good point. Right?
That's a good
point.
Some
people you just can't reach. But in 10 years, most of us change. Yeah. Most of us aren't the same person we were when we were 21 or 31 or 41 or whatever it is, the 10-year gap that we're talking about. So I'm more inclined to put a ban upon them that takes them out of commission for a decent period of time. While
What's
they
a
get
decent period of time?
Well, certainly years, whether it's half a decade or a decade, but certainly a significant period of time where they get to have acted in haste and repent at leisure. Because I'm not interested in redeeming them. I'm interested in them going and learning lessons. I'm not interested in investing any time, energy, or cost implications behind redeeming these people. I'm interested in taking them out of circulation, and then they can consider their position when they're all their mates and everyone else is going to watch football, and they can't. And they can explain to those that work alongside them, or those that invite them to a football match, or children that they have, that their daddy can't take them to football because I was a revolting, nauseating little wretch that decided to cause mayhem on one of the biggest days in English football.
But, I mean, you were spot on earlier on, Simon. It is a privilege to go to the likes of England-Denmark in the semi-final, a privilege to go to like England-Italy in the final. Now, there are those out there who would argue, do you know what? The ones who abuse that privilege
should have that privilege taken away from them.
Should have it taken away, but forever, for all time.
But the tragedy of the world that we're living in, Jim, we're having privileges taken away from us and given them back with conditions. So there's a very, very moot point, isn't it, about what privileges look like and what they don't look like in today's society. But I think ultimately, if you commit a crime, you go to prison, you serve a sanction, you come out, and you consider the opportunity to be rehabilitated and redeemed yourself. You very rarely are, because you'll have that black mark against you, and people will suggest that ultimately you're someone that they look at with a very wary eye, and you've earned that right, so you have to get on with it. Oh, you've earned that stigma. In this instance, if you ban somebody for a significant passage of time, and people have changed and learned their lessons, and the world does turn, and people do look back and think, what was I doing at that time in my life? Why did I behave in that fashion? If you take something away from somebody forever, you never give anybody an opportunity to redeem themselves. So
I'm looking at a lot of the responses, Simon. This is quite revealing this lunchtime.
Are they all for the life ban?
No. Kerry in Swansea is saying they have to be consequenced. Yeah. Watching your national team comes with obligations and responsibilities. Yeah. They have to be consequenced. There's Dr. Doug Ridge. Doctor, good afternoon to you. Anyone who legally entered Wembley on that day should have a club ban as well. And that's but it should not be lifetime.
And that's what we're saying, aren't we? We're saying that there should be a significant consequence, whether it's not a season. I think it should be at least 5 years. If you want people to understand the ramifications of their actions, then you need to consequence them seriously. Now, how that gets enforced, because the difficulty is, if these Herberts want to rock up at stadiums of football clubs that they don't support and buy casual tickets, it then becomes incumbent upon the football clubs that are banning them from their stadium to be able to enforce the ban. And it becomes very, very difficult, because unless you're going to have facial recognition at every single football stadium, you're going to find it a difficult situation to be able to police for it. But at least try.
So what are we saying then? Half a decade, 5-year ban from entering any football stadium?
Any football stadium in this country. You took a diabolical liberty in supporting your national team at a time when the football world was looking to its national team. Not that it's his responsibility to provide inspiration. The country was looking to be united. It was something meaningful, as it always is with England. It was a final for the first time in over half a century. It was a galvanisation of all the best things that sport's supposed to bring. Yeah. And you guys came along and gave my friends in the media an opportunity to amp up the narrative based upon your actions. And you should be consequenced for it.
Here's Sam, a Crystal Palace fan. Sam, good afternoon. Hi, Sam. Sam with us?
Hi, chaps. How you doing?
Good, mate. Good. What's your take on this? Where's your mind regarding the ban, the length of the ban? What do you think should happen?
Well, actually, I have a little story. I actually feature in Simon's book. And Simon, great to talk to you. And I'm not one of the Palace fans that dislike you. I think you're an absolute legend. So thanks for everything you did for the club. Unfortunately, earlier in my life, got involved in a few things to do with football, and involved in some disorder, and cost me 2 years of my life in prison. I got a lifetime ban from Simon from Crystal Palace, quite rightly, for my behaviour. My view on it, there is a mechanism in place. It's called a football banning order. Those that don't know what that is, you can't even go on a train or public transport on the day that your team play or England play. When England go away, you have to hand your passport in. So there is a mechanism in place. What I wanted to say, in my view on it, is that you can't ban people for life, because, like myself, I've grown up now. I run a children's football team. My eldest son now coaches children, and I openly talk to anybody involved in football about my experiences and what it did to me in my life. And even now I've got a criminal record that, stays with me till I pass away.
Wow, that was quite a story, Sam. Simon, there's
well done for saying it. Not well done for the things you did in the past, but you don't need me to tell you that. But well done for coming on and speaking to the point that we're all trying to make, which is people can redeem themselves. People make mistakes, and having the courage and convictions to come on and talk about it, I think, is very commendable.
Jim White and Simon Jordan, Monday to Thursday morning, 10 till 1. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app, and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.